formed associations that were very interested in starting export office, in financing it, and which is a little bit strange because everybody thinks it's the state has to do it, right? So we were contacting the Ministry of Culture of the Republic of Croatia, and we had the really open answer. It was some kind of explanation. Yes, we do understand the need. Yes, we know that we do have to fund export office, but we don't have the budget or the means. So try to find your own way, your own financing, and if it looks good to us, we will start to support you at some point. It took only a year, and we founded the Expo office in October 2022. Okay. We had a really strong PR mode. That was really a turning point for us because in less than a month, the state contacted us and started funding our programs. So it's like, it looks really good, we're new, we didn't invent anything, we're just really young. But from the other side, we are just trying to, we created some criteria, okay, for co-financing the band, but still haven't put the dot, still haven't ended the process, okay? We have this, it is like almost experimental phase. Okay, first phase of the office. It looks good. We have many contacts. We have many bands contacting us. We have many showcases that we have visited, and we will visit them more. Everything looks good, but it is a specific situation. I think that every country in the region has a different situation, different interests. It is really interesting because in our country we have associations that, like the rights holders associations, are very divided. You know, the authors, the labels, and the performers are not unified. Okay, they have their different associations, and it turned out performance associations in Croatia saw this as a thing that they should finance and fund in the style.
When you stressed twice that there is a model how to do music export, do you believe that there is a model? Because I think there's a big difference between, especially in case of Europe, older, bigger, richer countries with bigger national market. I think Germany, France, big countries, old countries. And new one which are typically dissolved from Austro-Hungarian Empire or former Yugoslavia, which are smaller, with unrecognizable languages and small market. And there's a difference that rich countries don't need exports because they have markets at home big enough. And we are small and we have to go outside because we are too small to survive inside our countries. Please, your comment.
The Germans hardly export at all, and they have the biggest market in Europe, third biggest in the world, and they have a strong live system, and they have probably the most loyal fans in Europe, the fans that will stay spending money for years and years. France is a very strange market, and the French have a big diaspora and an empire that they maintain with Quebec and Cameroon and all over the place. And they do export, so yeah, you can't classify by size of country. There's different approaches, but it's interesting when you started out talking about an address, you're exporting from an address, maybe Serbia to other countries. And from a creative perspective, the artist is telling a story, not necessarily telling that story to people from France or people from Japan. They're telling it to people of their culture, their subculture that like those stories. And it's very hard where, because of the funding, will come a certain, and it's the taxpayer or it's the collection society, etc. When you're exporting, you're really trying to reach communities who may not be defined by geography. So you kind of have to think in these two layers. And I don't think that enough export offices think that way. I think they think we're having a mission to major market, rather than this content and story is relevant to whom and where are they?
Timisoara, how you are using the European capital of culture situation to maybe not export but exchange or show your artists to broader international audience, and are you satisfied with your successes because you're on the very first phase of European capital culture? Very curious.
I think at this point the strategy more in Šarar is to grow the cultural operators more than to export music, let's say. And in this way, I think if they will grow the city market, they will grow it for import and then for export. So maybe that would be useful for bands from here or from the region, because Timisoara is so close to the border, it is much easier to reach to Novi Sad or to Belgrade or to this region than to go to Bucharest. So at this point, every festival, small, big, medium, in the area in Timisoara has a lot of funding from the city. So if I would be from this region, I would either directly contacting the festivals or maybe to the consulate, or for example for Serbia from there, to try to establish practically incoming bands to the city, because they get so much promotion on the national Romanian level and on the international regional level that it might be a launching platform for your bands. And if you look at the region, I would also focus, especially now that the Western market is so oversaturated with bands, that I would not necessarily target for the moment England or Holland or Germany. I would more or less target that region, and Timisoara can be a platform and the organizers have the funding. And I don't know what's the relation with the state here or the consulate there, but they could be a helping platform in creating either dedicated or special showcases within the already existing festivals.
I think it's a good moment to jump to media, because it's relevant media, big media, public media, if I'm right. If you're working in radio, I think you know your audience. Do you think that especially youngsters have idea, digital native youngsters, do they have idea that music belongs to soil or nation or country, and there is any kind of traveling of music through the borders, or they are living in totally globalized Spotify, Deezer, etc. world, and maybe all of us, when we are talking about exporting music, are totally wrong, because some South Korean artificial intelligence will create all music in the next 3 or 5 years, and what we are talking about, nations music, is totally fucked.
No, we are not going to go to South Africa or Korea. We are going step by step. Everything starts with media. When CITED was made, Central Eastern European Exchange Talents Program, the idea was for resell. Eurosonic Festival is the biggest showcase platform, and Euro Radio in the area is the biggest and most important associations of state media. To make one platform, to make integration southeast of Europe with West music industry. And it was the first step. For that step, they chose and they decided that we have to have a good festival, we had Exit Festival, and that we have to have good media. We have Radio Belgrade 1 and Radio Belgrade in total. Radio is the media who is faster than internet. So it is important for a new generation. It was a program made for the new generations. So we did it right. It was 5 years program. We have a moment to use it. It was our moment. And we did it. Exit did it and Radio Belgrade did it. The results are big. You asked, for your first question was about language. We can talk here in English because they are our guests. We have to talk in their language. But we have a situation that Koi, Serbian band, this year in Eurosonic Festival was chosen in the first 15 bands in Europe, best bands in Europe, and they're singing in Serbian. So language is everywhere, all languages are everywhere. We don't have to have any barriers. Younger generation also they don't have anything, they don't care. They love their city, their music, they love the world, they're global. We have to talk with them by that way. Media is the beginning of all this. Because of the media, because of the CITA program, and Radio Belgrade, EBU, Euro Radio, we are here now. And we are now have the biggest and wonderful conference here in Serbia, Kontakt, and where we are talking about our problem. We are talking about Serbian export for the first time. It is such a great success, and it will be nice to go on. But media is in the center of it. We have to help, because if they don't get it on the media, why bother? I don't know if I was clear. Ask you.
Lila, but great introduction for
Yes.
what's going on in Serbia right now.
Thank you. I just need to correct you. We are not still expert office.
We will be.
We will see, but we are not yet there. What was my question?
How much words about what's going on in Serbia music export plans?
Okay. Well, as I said, I'm coming from National Platform Serbia Creates. We are part of the Prime Minister Office, and National Platform is the platform for all creative industries, not just music. Together with film, IT, arts, and all the other segments of creative industries. I was like more than 15 years in Exit Festival. I was in charge for marketing and sales also, so I had that music background and some, let's say, some experience, because I was in charge for more than 20 countries and marketing in that country, so I had that international experience, and that's why they called me from Serbia Creates. She called me like a few months ago and asked me, would you like to join to our platform and maybe to help with music sector? Of course I said yes, and then we started. National platform is like our first goal is promoting and supporting our artists with their activities abroad to Serbia. So it's not just about the music, we have a lot of really good IT experts and arts and all the others. And we have that platform, Serbia Creates Ambassadors, where not all, but a lot of musicians who already are established internationally, and we are supporting them with, if they need some help with touring or filming or creating or whatever. So we are there for them. What I'm doing now is that I'm exploring the models of our neighbors and all the other countries and how they're doing their jobs. So we are just on the beginning of how we will set that export stuff in Serbia. So we don't have more of that. But I hope that we will have soon, and then I will tell you more about that. That's it in short.
When you talk about national plans, you stress Brussels. What's going on with music? When music, which always had some independent muscles, and look at all of us with strange tattoos, with street living faces. Now we want to talk with politicians, with Brussels, with prime ministers, because music have already established ecosystem. There are artists, there are media, there are discographs, there are distributing chains, there are a lot of already established way music are working. But what's going on now when music want to be part of systems with national theaters, with national museums, with national this and that? Is it some kind of new fragility of music, or it's normal step in development of creative industries, or we can call it any way we want? Please, I need your few words in some kind of wrap up of first half of our debate.
That's quite difficult because I do find when I come to Serbia, you get very political on every issue. Come on, let's take it back to the music. Trying to think of a summary. That's quite difficult. We've talked about a lot. I would like to touch on what Katarina said though about the CTEC programme, because if you think Ivan was very involved in that as well at Exit, I feel that may have been ahead of its time in a way, wanting to integrate all the countries in Eastern Europe and Southeast Europe into the European music network to help you have a leg up and people to take notice. Because after that programme, still many of these countries, including Serbia, didn't have a music export. Obviously, Romania's just launched one, Croatia's just launched one, Serbia has. So it kind of started maybe too early, but we really hope that it did spawn, you know, the idea that each country could have their own, and your music is good enough, it can cross borders. You know, and going back to the language thing, people can sing in other languages and be successful, and you will be very surprised that many media are very curious and interested in music from other countries. You know, media like Line of Best Fit loves writing about Icelandic music, Scandinavian music. You know, there's now music coming out from all these countries, and you do have an opportunity, but it's great that you're all at this event, because one thing I would say is networking is a key point. So coming to these conferences, you know, you'll now have lovely Zorica going to lots of different events, helping promote your music, your bands, what you're doing. You know, and hopefully you'll all be able to start attending some of these events with her and showing, you know, what you've got in this country and showing what we're all missing. You know, so I think there are opportunities. So I would love us to be positive about that, and hopefully your governments as well, talking about the culture and funding, hopefully with the proof, with case studies, the governments will understand that investing in culture, you will reap the rewards for that, because you'll get money in publishing. As Zorica has been telling me about the film industry that's been created here, you're bringing money into the country. So as well as crossing borders with culture and exporting, you can help bring money back into the country with culture. So I don't think that quite wraps up everything, but that's kind of my perspective, which I hope helps.
You're definitely getting the politicians a general perspective that the youth vote is increasingly important, and politicians are seeking out people with tattoos and long hair because they know that they're the ones who are involved in a lot of discussion. And when you look at the history of the Exit Festival and why it was set up, and then you look at the government bringing Zorica in because she can connect all these things together. She said very clearly she's working across the creative industries, and that pulls together the whole story and the growth of the economy and the intellectual property, particularly as we move into 3D printing and manufacturing. And so culture is going to become more and more important politically. So I see it less as us going towards them, more them coming towards us.
And also what I would like to say is that during the pandemic year, the creative sector has seen its fragility in not having the awareness of the government in relation to it. So I think this was one of the triggers to practically start talking with the government, because during that years, without the support of the government, many of the maybe independents wouldn't have survived. What I would also like to stress out is that I hope that our part of the world would look more into the Nordic model of investing in culture, because from our side there's a very, and I can talk about Romania very well, is that the politics involving in art, it has a very thin line within using art as propaganda. And this needs to be clearly defined. And I think in the Nordic country, the model is very clear. We support the creative sector, the musicians, the artists, but they are independent, and it should stay in this way. And I hope that, at least for our region, the Nordic model would be the model. And also, I have a different theory based on the very big influence of corporates. If before the creative sector was somehow in relation with the private sector, on the global market we have this huge growth of the corporate music, the big giant in the music industry. Because in 95% of the cases, I would say that money runs the business, which is a business, so money runs the business. And as one big CEO of one of the big corporations said, my responsibility is towards the shareholders. And they want money and market share. I think at this point, the interference of the state within the creative sector should be to protect the independence of the creative minds from the big influence of the corporates. But then the state should very clearly define this line that I mentioned before between using the creative sector for getting votes and for giving money, which is public funds, to practically keep their independence. And from the creative sector many times came good change and positive change and challenge to the given set of rules in one particular area.
So, if I may say, this was really well explained. There's always this fear, the same fear that the institutions and the states and the governments will dull the blade of independent music. I don't think it's real. I think this exploration that the state and the whole establishment is here to protect us from the corporational moment.
I know, we have the Nordic model which really functions in financing the creative sector without using it as propaganda. I think that in Romania, in many situations where the state finances or when municipality finances and where, for example, mayors do the rules are a bit blurred between understanding what culture is, what independence of culture is, where they use that creative sector for getting sympathy from the audience. And if music and art and culture has any other, how do you call it, back thought than the art in itself, then it switches the road or the line where it goes. But this is, especially if it's set up at this point, it is a good debate to have. Because the corporates also represent a threat to independent creative minds.
Thank you. A few answers. You're pretty optimistic when you talk about Nordic model, because Nordic model is based on democracy and a lot of money, and our part of the world is not recognized about democracy and to have a lot of money. And answer to you, yes, everything in our part of the world is about politicians, because we have very successful dictators, and we know very well how relationship between political establishment and art can be complicated. I'm not paranoid. I'm establishment. I work in city government, but I'm very careful about this relationship. Please, Slovenia, few very wise ideas for the end of first round.
It's very hard for me to represent Slovenia because I never worked there. But I mean, I grew up there. I'm Slovenian heritage, and I did have a great run there in organizing concerts and working for a radio station there. I do book together with my colleagues Eurosonic Festival, so in the Netherlands. We presented together, well, my colleagues did, put together the SAFET program, which hopefully helped contribute to the region and grow this spring of all these export offices which are happening. And I do agree that maybe it was a little bit early, but at the same time maybe that had to happen in order to have this now. And if you just look at the lineup of Eurosonic for the past, let's say, 10 years, you can see the amount of artists that are booked from Eastern European region or Central European region is growing. A great example is Skojkoj, which, also just looking back at this edition of Eurosonic, we had two artists, one of them being Kontaktu, playing the largest public stage, that was beautiful, and everybody was excited about it, so, she's also singing in Serbia, so the language barrier was not there. And on top of this also, I remember back in 2018 we booked to be also Kontaktu, same thing. I mean, even though they're narrating their concert in English, the songs are all in Croatia. So it was really a beautiful moment. Again, to see a big stage being used in the middle of Poland for this language. So I think I think there's definitely an interesting an interesting point in terms of the language barrier. So I don't think that that's really a problem when it comes to quality music. And with Koi Koi, I think it was really amazing to see a band that is so young and was just like starting up, exploding in the region, and trying to make it also on the other side of Europe. Because, for example, Koi Koi just finished their Benelux tour. They were doing for the first time. They played also thanks to Eurosonic at one of the main venues in Amsterdam, Paradiso. The show was sold out. I think that this is just like another example of a great success of an artist, which probably this is just the first step in their export, let's say, towards Western Europe. But there is interest. I think that this is what is the bottom line. What boils down to. And I find it quite interesting that also Kontaktu here, which has the capacity to basically present all this talents live in person to professionals who come from across the continent, to see it, and also to present, hey, this is maybe at this moment too young to be exported, but in a year or in 2 years, this is the thing. So I'm very excited about the program tonight at Kaligali. Is that good? Yeah.
When it comes to Koi Koi and their tour, we tried to, if we are speaking about that language barrier, we tried to get some media coverage for them, from common medias, Belgium also, and they didn't want to have it to them because it's like their music is in Serbian, it's not in English, so there is that language barrier. So the question is, okay, they are performing, and that is one of the really good results of Eurosonic because they played Paradiso, and that was a good opportunity for media also to show them as example, and to that this is the small band from Serbia, and they're playing like four cities in that area in 1 week, and they didn't want to cover them, radio stations, for example, because they're singing in Serbian. So the language is for performers from this area.
I understand that maybe getting coverage in some kind of a local newspaper might be difficult. Radio. Yeah, that might be also difficult, but also in certain things, but certain media. But if you target, let's say, real music fans media, I'm sure that Nikki can tell us that when Tito was playing, also back in, I think it was 2018 or something.
Yes, 18.
Thank you. I know there was all this media was rating, international media was raving about this band. These kids that are just like playing great rock and roll, and it doesn't matter if they're from Serbia or wherever.
Yeah, I would say, obviously, I did try to help Zorica with the how to work Eurosonic, but it is difficult. You do have a lot of competition. The media are open to visiting and watching new bands, as are the promoters and booking agents. They want to learn, but you have to lobby them. You've got to get to know them. They have to get to know you. So I would say it probably take you maybe a year of getting to know people, going to Ment, going to the Great Escape, going to Eurosonic, going to Lipabar, get to know everyone, and then once they know you and trust you and know that you're going to be coming to you with a good band and the quality is there and the trust is there, then they'll come and start seeing your bands. But it just takes a little bit of time. I think also when your band is coming to play something like Eurosonic, you need a plan. You need to have, why are you playing there? Are you ready for the international market? Do you have a single coming? Do you have an album coming? Have you got a tour in Germany or Poland scheduled after this? So it isn't the magic answer, sadly, to be at these events, but there needs to be a story, a plan. And often if your country is chosen to be the focus country, then obviously you do get a lot of exposure, so hopefully you will be a focus country in the future. because then all the media know they must cover that country, and they will get a lot of coverage. Like, for example, it was Spain at Eurosonic this year, so all our media partners knew they must write about at least one Spanish artist. So it's a way of making sure these countries do get the exposure that they might not normally. So we always try our best to make sure media are open to seeing different things. You know, you could be hanging out with Jake in the Spiegel bar, and he'll go, hey, come with me, I'm seeing this band, and you just go there because you trust this person, and you end up seeing a band you would never know. You know, for example, everyone went to the Sub Pop show because it's Sub Pop, and there was an artist, I think she was Polish, was she? You know, I wouldn't have probably gone to see a Polish artist, but because she was on Sub Pop, everyone was there. So, you know, you just got to work at it. So the opportunities are there, but it will just take a bit of time, and you just need to work at it, if that helps.
You're so right, please, you will be better than me. Sure. You're so right. And we have to remember one thing, we are not part of the European Union. Serbia is not part of the European Union. And we have to find our own model. Not any. We have to cooperate with Nikki, with him, with wonderful guy, and to make our own model. And it is success. Kontaktu is a big success because everything is in institutions, not in politics now. Because we have one thing, we are not in European Union. And we have great success because of the institutions and because of the Kontakt and that kind of exchange things about export and about thinking about music and about world music, Serbian music. This is important thing.
Which country were Baljak?
From me, or from everybody. I like that.
Baljak, the band, where were they from? Which country? So they told a story. And it's very interesting with Serbia Creates that's about like a visual experience, a fashion experience, an art installation, and they told that story over many years. So the language thing was irrelevant because they mixed it out. They got all these other things, but Nikki's point is essential with the cadence, that a platform like Eurosonic is a massive opportunity, and these guys work more than 365 days a year to support the artist. But when the artist is not at Eurosonic, or the export offices are not actively helping them, the artist often isn't doing enough. So the artist will come to the government or to the platform and say, we need your help and we deserve it. And these guys will help. But unless you listen to them and say, what else should I be doing? There's not a lot they can do because, as Nikki said, the audience is very distracted. There's all these things going. So Lieback is a brilliant example of telling a story that unfolds over a number of years that's authentic and true and original. And language didn't matter. And the other thing is you have to tell that story with a cadence, keeping the pace, the momentum up year round, not just focusing on 4 days in January.
I would just add one thing as well, that with the Repetita case, you had a secret weapon, Ivan, there, because Exit Festival, you know, some of the staff there are very well respected internationally and a part of Europe, and if he says, come and see my band from Serbia, a lot of people will go. So, you know, going back to the festivals, if you think festivals across Eastern Europe, you know, you have Untold in music, Exit, Ziga, these festivals are very internationally desirable. So we can use the traction of the desirability and the want to go to those festivals to also help promote the local artists from there as well. So I think we should definitely use that more for sure.
And the honest point of view with Oskar, Štrajn, or Robert, or Nikki, this is our success. That's how Serbian bands go out and do some approaching. Thank you so much. They are so detailed and they are looking openly every band and decide what to do.
We definitely take a look at every band, absolutely. But we also don't want to book bands too early, as it was just said. So it is so important to know that the band is ready when they play with Eurosonic. So when I get the recommendations from you, then I know that they're at that stage. You know, if they come to me and they say, "Hey, Kontaktu is really needing this push because, like, you know, she did this great opportunity on Eurovision, but nobody saw her live. You know, we need all these bookers to see her live." Or for Toy, the same thing. We need to know that there's a person behind them who's going to guide them through this process, and that they're not going to just go and use the 4 days of Eurosonic for this this exposure, but then nothing will happen afterwards because they didn't get prepared in the proper way. So that's why you need to have somebody as a band. You need to have somebody who represents you, and that already maybe visited the event before, already made a connection on the local, regional, and also European level, so that when their band is playing, they can benefit from it. So it's about this plan and about the preparation.
Yes.
And that helps our jobs a lot.
So there is like a whole crew of advisors, promoters, management, and the music export offices that are lobbying for the band. That are literally taking you for your arm and telling you, look at this band, because this band is good. And the band has to have a plan.
Okay, before the last round, I want to dedicate to the Serbian model. Short interruption because of Dubioza and Kontakta and Dražen here. What's going on with this part of the world and Eurovision contest? Because it's some kind of crazy movement that independent fringe bands go through Eurovision to promote their work. Only few ideas about it from your side. Dražen led 3, you talked about Kontakta and Dubioza. Is some kind of independent, clever use of Eurovision for promotion, without any help of any officer.
I have to say, from my point of view, it just happened to us. We didn't plan this. We planned to
Kontakta said the same.
Yeah, we really planned to promote our big concert in Zagreb that was to be held in February. And we used the prelimination for Eurosonic in Croatia to promote our event, and then we won. And I'm in trouble.
Any of you? This is policy.
Eurovision is TV, we are radio. So we're not yet. It is a different kind of show, a different kind of approach to music. And not a song only. It is a 3-minute song. You have to go out.
Why Dubioza with their visual thinking and Let 3 and Kontakta using Eurovision to promote their work which doesn't fit with Eurovision aesthetics? I think so.
I was in Turin, I had to work there. It was not a pleasure like Eurosonic, I have to say that. And this, I know Kontakta, she's a wonderful friend. She was in wonder like that, because everybody was approaching to her. She was not doing anything. The winner of that Eurovision came to her to admire her. Everything was going that way, not in a different path. So she went out and she was shocked. She understood how the things are going in Eurosonic on that big stage and many people. But in Eurovision, she was, okay, I'm here. They know about why they're here. It is so much for me. Electric will do the same thing, and it will be very interesting for them. It is a different kind of show. It is a free show, for example. We have to say that. When we have a meeting on Eurosonic, I'm not against Eurovision. It's a television show. We have so many things wonderful on the television level, on the video level, but not at the sound level. It is a playback.
I don't think British bands would be that disruptive. And like you say, they don't fit, they go play Eurosonic, and everyone says, what the hell are you doing there? It's disruptive, and that's a great thing to encourage. There's a Slovenian company, Vibrate, that's been in the data space for a long time, 2017, and there's excellence in AI in the university in Ljubljana, and they're one of the best companies in that space, but they kind of get overlooked because people go, oh, you're Slovenian. So in January of this year, they dropped against their competitors from the US and the UK. They were all charging about the same amount per month. And Vibrate just said, well, we'll charge that for the year. And they've smashed the price. But what they've done very well on social media is they're telling amazing stories about reading your data from streaming, from live, etc., to work out where your audience is and how you speak to them. So it's a very disruptive move. That's a tech company, but it's similar to your rock bands going into Eurosonic, and you should maintain that. And when you have disruptive people inside the government, you've got an opportunity.
And one thing, sorry, I have just one, what is important, they will be looked by a whole earth, and that you can use like
Yeah,
for
make your own rules.
make your own world, yeah, and go on. Make money for that. That's,
We're doing our best.
we wish you do that.
Okay, let's go to model. Well, Serbian model, new model. As all of you mentioned before, there are already some system of festival, of collaborators, of booking agents, of media. My opinion is that it's wrong that any export office can have an idea that they're starting something. No. There only have to be some kind of clever umbrella, I think so. Very careful about existing people, from my perspective, with login, Peja, Milivojev, exit, I don't know. You need respect for such guys because they are seen, they are a living musical scene, and I think even in Croatian case, not to jump into a lot of communication, maybe to establish some competitive model. Let's not pretend that we know what we are doing in office. Let's invest in few points in supplying chain of music, maybe to finance producing, maybe to finance promotion, maybe to finance festival who can organize exchanging, as we mentioned before, because musical world is here. I know Peja for 20 years. We exported and imported music without any office because, well, Peja, let's have all this great Serbian band in Rijeka, but please help us to have some great Croatian band in Serbia. And to avoid that fact is wrong for every national model because,
I think,
as Arcade Fire said, we exist, they exist.
if
And I think that's my very suggesting introduction for model. Dražen,
yes, music expert offices are not here to interfere in the already existing situation on the market. Just here as a platform to help and to connect.
That model still doesn't exist. That's a great moment. When model doesn't exist, you have to invent the most beautiful model in the world, especially if you are not part of the European Union.
There are different models of financing and funding, but the models of co-financing bands and pushing them to showcases already exist. They're all the same. There are some different aspects and some different numbers and the different budgeting, but it exists. And the point is, nobody wants to interfere on the market. We just want to help bands, help existing bands that have a plan, that have aspirations to go out, that are like not singing for one summer, as when I said, we help them.
But you interfere in market
And
when you are pushing
one
money in one direction and not to another. I'm doing this job in the city.
Okay.
Because I'm subscribing money direction, and that is interfering in market. And my idea was that this ecosystem is very fragile, and you need intelligent approach how to
That's
push.
why you need people with vision and people who need to understand, but that's the role of the state, so to say, to create public policies. But then again, you need people who understand public policies and who understand the ecosystem and to see where the state plays as a competitive actor in the market, which the state should never do, but where the state should intervene in order to counterbalance. Maybe I could just give you an example of Romania. In my opinion, the state should intervene, for example, in very poor areas where access to education, if you put a concert based on tickets, it would never sell. But the state could give access to culture to underprivileged people, because through that they will get it will create an ecosystem, they will have access to more information. So you will need really educated people in state functions, and also that's why I'm a strong believer that the state should intervene in education, and that would not intervene so much in the ecosystem, in financing a record label or financing a promoter or a band, but for example, educating the record label, the promoter, or the band, how the ecosystem functions, so it gives them a base platform from where they start. It's not like when I got in the music industry 20 years ago, practically, I started by making sketches at European festivals, like how do you do production, and no one had a clue in Romania how to do production, where I hope that in 2023, young people start by actually learning production, and then they come with added value, having the basic knowledge. So then you wouldn't intervene in the system, would just give equal access to information and to knowledge to the market, and the market based on creativity could practically come with added value.
You talked about exchanges and that without government help you would talk to people in other countries and bring them in. A thing that a lot of the export offices overlook is the exchange thing. So with the Music Managers Forum, we're set up in the US, the US import office, and we're just about to do it in India, which is a way of helping the songwriters in those countries connect with the people who are coming in. Because often export offices have a very blinkered approach when they go into a market. And this again is interesting with the Serbian approach of thinking more about creativity, that then you can start dealing with right accounts, development and creativity, which exactly supports what Codruta is saying is, how do we help people to develop stuff creatively rather than just we have products that we need to ship.
And to start from a very solid ground, not to take 1 to 5 years to just figure out how the music system works, to practically experience, just to put them, for example, I remember when I went to IMMF so many years ago, I was literally had no clue who's who, how it works, and then you come from the East and you were like, this is confusing. But if, for example, there would have been like courses or a school, like, no, these are the biggest players in the market, these are the most conferences, this is how the ecosystem is functioning, I would have had suddenly more information to start from than just to get the time and the money and to invest to linearly learn it. We can actually share this information with the young generation. So they practically all we learn, they get in a, condensated, and then they start from that point. And that I think would help. Just not send, for example, songs or an email to festivals. We get, for example, with our festivals, hundreds of emails. We literally, I personally don't even read them. But if they would be, if they would have a manager or if they would have an agent, which I'm working with, I already know, as you were saying, that they have already been through a filter. So it would help more for a band, for example, to get a manager or a respective agent. Tell me, I have this great band, but then I give you this headliner, but you get also my baby band. Trust me, I get the baby band to get the headliner, because I already know they have a system behind who helps them in the development.
There's a whole other aspect of music export offices to create music professionals. The whole industry is lacking professionals. To educate them, to create from the guys doing the tech stuff to the managers and agents. In whole Europe, we are lacking those guys.
Well, in Nordic countries. I think it's time to questions from audience. Is there any brave and provocative? We're so bored there.
Some hecklers at the back.
Sorry, can I ask something? You want to stand up?
No.
I have a question that's rather connected to the Serbian scene and everything. So the last thing you mentioned is about educated musicians and people who are in the music industry. So I did the BA here at the Music Academy, then I went to Ireland, I did my MA, I'm doing the PhD now, and I'm a traditional musician, but I'm doing a lot of ethno jazz and Balkan fusion things, and now I'm mixing the Irish music as well. So my biggest concern about the export thing is finding a manager or the agent or anybody. So as I understood, nobody from you is in the traditional part of thing or whatever from the music. But my concern is, even for people who are not traditional musicians, I do have a lot of like networks in Serbia. I do know a lot of people, but it's just how should I, as an individual and already established musician who is on the stage for 12 years, find someone who is like a little bit interested in something that's not commercial. And I don't tend to commercialize myself and my music just to be popular. I want to keep some standard because I'm, let's say, an educated musician, and I have some perspectives and ambitions, but I don't want to change my path just so I could find some agent who would do things that I don't want to. So I heard about Serbia Creates, and I actually wanted to contact you. I will after this. But do you think that we should change something about the policy about music management for all the branches and all the types of music in Serbia?
No, I completely agree with you and with Dražen that we have all the same problem when it comes to managers. That koji investitor, they won't have a Slovenian manager. The same manager, same person is in charge for both of our bands, which we are taking as examples. So I agree that but it's not about, it's not forbidden, you know, to I don't know how to explain, but we need to do that segment also. We need to find those people and to learn them how to do it. At the moment, I can't help now, but we will speak about after the dance. And we as a platform, I just need to repeat, we are not expert office, yes. I hope that's clear. We're just looking for new options. And also the added value of Serbia Creates is, for example, now we have the Space Motion DJ, not sure if you've heard about him. He is one of the 30 producers worldwide now. He's really good, he's from Novi Sad. And he would like to have that visual show. And we from platform, we are helping him to find the guys from IT sector, because we are working with them, so that's easier for him now. Also with filming, we can help if that production house or filming house coming to Serbia, we can connect them with our musicians and maybe offer them to do the music for them. So we are not, looking at music as like, let's do the concerts and let's send our bands outside of Serbia. That's not the point. The whole music system is much more bigger than that. But we will speak out to I don't have suggestions about the managers. I would like to know if there are some of them also.
Well, we are running out of time, so maybe last word from some suggestion to where Serbia can be in 3 years with people who want to push it somewhere. Dražen, you're from Croatia, you're better.
Yeah, I've met so many top-notch people in Serbia, and everybody knows their business. So I think that the future is bright. So whichever path you take, I think you almost cannot miss it. And the whole thing that is like the most important, the scene. The new bands are better than ever. So you have something to work with.
I wouldn't like to speak in particular about Serbia, but I'm a big believer in the Central, Eastern, Southern region. I believe that history is changing, and this region will become way stronger in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So, yeah, 15, but it's still and I also have big trust in the creativity of this region, because maybe that was being the wild east in this area. We kept the form of creativity, which is amazing and can reshape the future. And I think the society needs both of us to evolve, and we still have this creativity. I have to close the slide, but the change is never easy.
I guess for me it's just about giving you the tools and the knowledge to be successful, because obviously for us we know the events you should be going to, the places, people you should talk to, so hopefully this is something Zorica can work on, so you all have the tools and the information to progress and have equal opportunities as we do. So I'm remembering your faces, and I'm going to hope to see you at some industry conferences in Europe very soon.
It's like Fred.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember your face.
There is creativity and entrepreneurship in this region, and it's kind of collapsed in the Atlantic West. And this thing about management, it's a big problem in the States and the UK at the moment, because the business model has completely changed, and the ultimate, the level place of advance in those markets, the manager commissions, has gone. And so we need to tear up completely the business model, and we can't because we're fixated on whatever worked for the Beatles. You guys don't have that wreckage that we're in, so you can be much faster in creating the business model of the future, and the artists are leading the way. They're very creative.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to see all the new bands coming from Serbia playing for your summer. That's definitely the next 3 years.
I think we are in a good position now, and when we are talking with you and Peja, what have you done? 30 years. For the 30 years, it is so much wonderful thing. Serbia is a difference. Serbia has music tradition, has rock and roll from the start. It's a different than other countries in southeastern of Europe. We have to say that, to be proud of that. So I think it is easier for us. We will find a way like you always did. Please, give me the band from Croatia, I will give you the band from Serbia, and from 3 years now on, let's really be global success. Kontaktu. We will sit here, I hope, with pleasure. Peja will again take us Echo and the Bunnymen. They are doing the Ocean Rain Tour now. Please do it. I know you can do it. And I think the world is to play for Serbian music and real tour.
Thank you. The last word?
No, I need to agree with Codruta. Sorry, I need to agree with comedian.
I see you in Šarar.
Okay, me and our bands, of course. Well, I hope that we will have 10 events next year already at Eurosonic, not a few of them. Yeah. And I'm also looking forward to numbers, statistics, and results, and everything else we don't have at the moment. So we also need to work on that. And that's it.
Cool. Well, optimism of these people is unbeatable and bulletproof. One big applause for them.